Hi everyone, welcome back to Study Room. My name is Angel and today we'll be doing chapter number 7 of class 9, that is packing. So packing is written by author Jerome K. Jerome and it's an extract from his novel called as Three Men in a Boat. So Jerome K. Jerome was an English writer and humorist best known for the comic travel log that is Three Men in a Boat. So the theme of the story is based on the routine tasks that are not as easy as they are thought to be. A task as mundane as packing requires meticulous planning and foresight, without which the results may be disastrous. Okay, so when I was in ninth class, this chapter used to be my favorite because it's so funny and so interesting. So I hope you guys also like this as well. Let's get started. I said I'd pack. I rather pride myself on my packing. Packing is one of those many things that I feel I know more about than any other person living. I said I would pack. So here the author is saying that he would pack to his friends Harris and George, and also then he's saying I rather pride myself of my packing. Pride myself means that he is very proud of his packing, the way he packed. So packing is one of those many things that I feel I know more about than the any other person living. So the author is saying here that the packing is one of those things uh, which he feels that he knows more about than any other one. Okay, it surprises me myself sometimes how many such things there are. It means that it surprises author so much that there are so many things to pack, and also the author just suggested the fact of George and Harris that he should do all the packing. Okay, so what happened then? Into the suggestion with a readiness that had something uncanny about it. George spread himself over the easy chair and Harris cocked his legs on the table. So here, what happened that when the author suggested his friends that, okay, let me do the packing, I'll do everything, I'll do pack the whole thing, okay. So his friends agreed upon it, and when they agreed that thing, it was very uncanny. Like uncanny means strange and or weird. So it sounded very weird and uncanny to the author. That how did this his friends agreed so easily? So what happened next time? George spread himself over the easy chair and Harris cocked his legs on the table. So George was very comfortable. He sat on a chair, easy chair, very comfortably, and Harris cocked his legs on the table. So cocked his legs on the table means bent legs on his knee as he sat, as you can see in the picture. Okay. This was hardly what I intended. What I had meant, of course, was that I should pause the job and that Harris and George should potter about under my directions, I pushing them aside every now and then with, "Oh, you." So here the author is saying that this was hardly what he intended. Like it was not intended means, first of all, planned. So the author didn't plan that his friend would agree so easily uh, that he has to do the whole task of packing. So the author thought that what he had to do was just pause the job, okay, just pause around that, do this, do that, and just sit and observe what their friends are doing and just intervene in the things which they're doing wrong, and that Harris and George should potter about under my direction. Potter about means to do some unimportant work. Okay, so I pushing them aside every now and then with "oh you." So are you getting imagining whole scenario that the author sitting on his chair? being comfortable and just bossing around, giving orders to his friends. Oh, you don't do that. Don't do that. You're doing this wrong. Do this. Oh, you don't know how to do that. You are so moron. You are so silly. I'll do that. I'll tell you. I'll show you how the work is done. Something like that. Okay. Here, let me do it. There you are. Simple enough. Really teaching them, as you might say. They're taking it in the way they did irritated me. So the author is saying, just like that I told you, the way that he wanted to say, here, let me do it. There you are, simple enough. Teaching them that he wanted to teach them like how a work is done. Okay, but what happened didn't go as planned. So the author was very irritated by the response. Okay, now there is nothing doesn't irritate me more than seeing other people sitting about doing nothing when I am working. I lived with a man once who used to make me mad that way. Okay, so here the author is saying that it irritates him very much when he is doing all the work and everyone else around him is sitting idly doing nothing. Okay, he's saying I lived with a man once who used to make me mad that way. Okay, he would loll on the sofa and watch me doing things by the hour together. He said it did him real good to look on at me, messing about. Now I'm not like that. I can't sit still and see another man slaving and working. Okay, so the author is saying that he once used to live with a man who used to do the same thing, but sit idle and watch other people doing all the work. So that's what he's telling about, that the person just would loll on the sofa, like sit on a relaxed manner, kind of lay down on the sofa, okay, and watch him doing the things by the hour together. Like with hours, he would just watch him do the thing and do nothing himself. So he said it. He said that it did him real good to look on at me. So he was just messing about. He was messing with the author. So messing means to waste time without doing something particular. To waste time without doing something on purpose. Okay, so this is the meaning of messing about. Now, I'm not like that. I can't sit still and see another man slaving and working. So the author is saying that I'm not like that man. I can't see another person just slaving and working and sit idly. Okay. Now, I want to get up and superintend and walk round with my hands in my pockets and tell him what to do. It's my energetic nature. I can't help it. However, I did not say anything but started the packing. So here the author is saying that I want to get up and superintend. Superintend means supervise or manage. So author wants to supervise and manage and walk around with his hand in his pockets and tell his friends to do what to do. That's his energetic nature. Can you see the energetic nature's vibe? That how energetic he is. He just doesn't want to do any work. He just wants to, put his hands in his pocket and just roam and supervise. That's it. The bossy attitude. That's his energetic nature. Energetic. Okay. So he can't help it. Okay. So, however, he didn't say anything to his friends but started the packing. Okay. Now, it seemed a longer job than I had thought it was going to be. But I got the bag finished at last and I sat on it and strapped it. Okay, so it took a longer job than the author thought it would take. So packing took a lot of job. So packing took a lot of time, which author didn't, expected it would take. But at the end, when he finished the packing, he The bag means the packing bag. And what happened when he finished the packing, he sat on it and strapped it. Strap means close the bag. Okay. So when everything was done, at the end, Harris, his friend, said, "Ain't you going to put the boots in?" So what happened then? And I looked round and found I had forgotten them. That's just like Harris. He couldn't have said a word until I'd got the bag shut and strapped. Of course. And George laughed, one of those irritating, senseless laughs of his. So here's what happened that the author then realized that he forgot to put the boots in, and Harris only, just like as Harris is, reminded the author just at the end when the packing was done and the bags were shut. Okay. So, with that, George, his second friend, laughed on the situation, which sounded very irritating and senseless laugh to the author. Okay. So the author is saying here that they do make me so wild. So wild means that mad with anger. So here the author is saying that his friends make him so angry and mad with all the things they do. Okay. So I opened the bag and packed the boots. So when the author opened the bag and packed the boots and was just going to close the bag, then he realized and a horrible idea came to his mind that what if he didn't pack his toothbrush? Brush, okay. Now, I don't know how it is, but I never do know whether I've packed my toothbrush. My toothbrush is a thing that haunts me when I'm traveling and makes my life a misery. I dream that I haven't packed it and wake up in a cold perspiration and get out of bed and hunt for it. So here the author is saying that uh, he doesn't know why, but whenever he do the packing, he just never know that whether he has packed his toothbrush or not. So now he's telling a story that his toothbrush is a thing that haunts him. Haunts him means trouble him, gives trouble. A thing that gives trouble, that troubles him, that whenever he's traveling, okay, and makes his life a misery. Misery means sad, makes his life sad. So he dreamed that he gets dreams, in fact, that he haven't packed his toothbrush, and and then what happens, he wakes up and in cold perspiration means sweat, and get out of bed and hunt for it. Okay. So, are you getting the picture? That all this narration feels so funny that the author is telling that his connection to the toothbrush, that whenever he's traveling or whenever he's packing, he doesn't know why he forgets that whether he has packed his toothbrush or not. So he in fact get dreams about it, that he has forgotten to pack his toothbrush, and because of that dream he just wakes up and sweaty in cold perspiration, and then get out of bed and hunt for it, and then put it in his bag. And in the morning, I pack it before I have used it and have to unpack again to get it. And it is always the last thing I turn out of the bag, and then I repack and forget it and have to rush upstairs for it at the last moment and carry it to the railway station wrapped up in my pocket handkerchief. So here what the author is saying, that is just in the continuation to the previous paragraph, that whenever he wakes up from his dream, then he rushes and hunts for his toothbrush, right? So in the haste he just packs the toothbrush without even using it, realizing that he have to use the toothbrush again to brush his teeth, right? So in the morning I pack it before I have used it and have to unpack again to get it. So when he realizes that he have to use the toothbrush, so he unpacks the whole thing again to take out the toothbrush, and it is always the last thing I turn out of the bag. So what happens, that he just forgets every time to repack the brush in the bag. So and then because of that, he just always have to rush upstairs to get the toothbrush at the last moment, and then at the end he just carries the toothbrush in a wrapped in a pocket handkerchief to the railway station. Okay, This is how the story goes, and all this narration is quite funny, right? Now, of course, I had to turn every mortal thing out now. And of course, I could not find it. I rummaged the things up into much the same state that they must have been before the world was created, and when chaos reigned. So here the author is saying that of course he had to turn every mortal thing. Mortal thing means every ordinary thing out now, and of course I could not find it. So he's saying that he's searching for it everywhere in the bag, but he couldn't find it. Searching for what? His toothbrush. Okay. I rummaged the things up into much the same state that they must have been before the world was created. So I rummaged. Rummage means uh, searched hurriedly, okay, or carelessly, okay. So the author is saying here that he rummaged the things up into much the same state that they must have been before the world was created. So here the author is saying that when he was searching for the toothbrush, he just rummaged all the things into that kind of state in which they were before the world was created. Okay, so he just mocking himself here. And when chaos reigned, chaos means confusion, and reign means ruled. So before the time when the world was created and when chaos means confusion ruled. Okay. So the author is saying that when he finished packing, then George asked that if he has, put the soap in or not. So the author said that I didn't care a hand, that he is not, he didn't show any concern or interest. Okay, whether he's put the soap on it or not. Okay, and then he slammed the bag shut. Slammed means forcefully shutting the lid of the bag with loudness. Okay, and strapped it, closed it, and found that I had packed my spectacles in it. And then he had to reopen it. So when he just realized that he had put the his spectacles, means specs, in the bag, then he had to reopen the bag again. So just notice how many times he has closed and opened the bags. Like it's just so funny. Now it got shut up finally at 10:05 p.m. Finally, and then there remained the hampers to do. Harris said that we should be wanting to start in less than 12 hours' time and thought that he and George had better to do the rest. Uh, and I agreed and sat down. And they had a go. So here the author is saying that finally the bag was packed at 10:05 p.m. Okay. And then there remain the hampers. Hampers are the baskets, in which the food and the other essential stuff is put. Okay. So Harris said that we should be wanting to start in the less than 12 hours time before that they have to leave, and thought that he and George would do the hampers and the author would rest. Okay, now it's time to take rest and they both will do the hampers. Now, they began in a light-hearted spirit means cheerful way, in a cheerful way, evidently intending to show me how to do it. I made no comment, I only waited. So both of his friends were like very cheerful in the beginning, and they were like, you just have rest, we'll show you how to do stuff, how to pack, we'll show you. So the author was like, he did not make any comment, he was like, okay, I'll wait. So he just waited. Now, with the exception of George, Harris is the worst packer in this world. And I looked at the piles of plates and cups and kettles and bottles and jars and pies and stoves and cakes and cakes and cakes and tomatoes, etc. Okay, and felt that the thing would soon become exciting. So here the author is saying that with the exception except George, Harris is the worst packer in the world. Okay, And when he looked at the piles of plates, cups, kettles, bottles, jars, pies, stoves, cakes, tomatoes, etc., then he felt that now it's going to be something exciting. That okay, when they'll pack it, it's got to be something exciting. Okay, now and it did. Okay, it did. They started with baking a cup. That's a nice, nice start. Just let's break a cup. That was the first thing they did. Okay, they did that just to show you what they could do and to get you interested. Okay, we are interested, right? Now, then Harris packed the strawberry jam on top of a tomato and squashed it. That's a nice thought, right? And they had to pick out the tomato with a teaspoon. Now, are you guys, just uh, try to imagine it. What is happening? First of all, when you start packing it, you broke a cup, and then what all you can do is just put a heavy strawberry jam on top of a tomato, and you just squashed it. This is how it looks. Squashing. Okay, okay, squashed. Hmm. And then Harris, and then they had to pick out the tomato with the teaspoon. Okay, now, and then it was George's turn, and he trod on the butter. I didn't say anything, but I came over and sat on the edge of the table and watched them. It irritated them more than anything I could have said. I felt that. So, when it was George's turn, so what happened? He trod on. Trod means stepped on. He stepped on the butter, and the author didn't say anything. He just came over and sat on the edge of the table and just watched them and didn't say a word, which irritated very much. Irritated his friends a lot more than anything he could have said. So when he was not saying anything, that irritated more. It was more irritating to his friends that he is not speaking a word. Instead, if he would have said anything, it wouldn't have been much irritating. Okay. So, and he felt that. Now, it made them nervous and excited. And they stepped on things, put things behind them, and then couldn't find them when they wanted them. And they packed the pies at the bottom and put heavy things on top and smashed the pies. And okay, this is how what they were doing. So, so when author wasn't commenting anything or didn't say said anything to them, so it made his friends nervous and excited. So what happened then? He was just observing his friends to do the silly things like stepping on things, putting things behind them, and then not being able to find all these things, and then when they want them, and then they packed. Now here, look, they packed all the pies. Pies are the soft pies. You might have heard of apple pies, etc., etc., pineapple apple pies in the bakeries. So there's soft material, like they are soft. You have to eat it. It's squishy, soft, right? So on top of that, they're putting heavy things and then smashing the pies. Nice strategy, right? Now, upset salt over everything. And as for the butter, I never saw two men do more with 1 and 2 pence worth of butter in my whole life than they did. So here the author is saying that they overturned. Upset means overturned all the salt over everything. And as for the butter, he never saw two men do more with 1 and 2 pence. Okay, so here 1 and 2 pence is currency. Okay, so he's saying that he never saw a butter worth of 1 and 2 pence uh, do more. Okay, so here the author is saying that he has never seen anyone do such a thing, do a butter worth of 1 and 2 pence, which two men has done to it. Okay, have done to it. Now, after George had got rid of his slipper, they tried to put it in the kettle. It wouldn't go in, and what was in wouldn't come out. So, after they managed to get the butter off of George's slipper, uh, they then tried to put the butter in the kettle, and the kettle wouldn't go. The butter wouldn't go in the kettle, and what was inside the kettle wouldn't come out. Okay, now they did scrape it out at last and put it down on a chair, and Harry sat on it, and it stuck to him, and they went looking for it all over the room. So, when they dragged or pulled, okay, so that's the meaning of scrape, okay, to drag or pull. So, when they scraped the butter out last, and then they put it down on a chair, and then Harry sat on it, and it stuck to him at his back, and they went looking for it all over the room. I'll take my oath. I put it down on the chair, said George, staring at the empty seat. I saw you do it myself, not a minute ago, said Harris. Okay, so here George is saying that I take oath. Oath means he swear it, that he swears that he did put it on the chair. Okay, and then Harry said, I saw you do it myself. Like, I even saw you do it, not even a minute ago. Okay, so they were like, where did it go then? If if George put it on the chair and even Harry saw him do that, then where the hell did the butter go? Okay, so then they started round the room again looking for it, and then they met again in the center and stared at one another. So they just looked for the butter in the whole room and just came back to one another in the center of the room, and they stared at each other, and then, most extraordinary thing I ever heard of, said George. Then George said that it's the most extraordinary thing that he has ever heard of. So mysterious, said Harris. Then George got round at the back of Harris and saw it. Okay, so why here it is all the time? He exclaimed indignantly. Where? Cried Harris, spinning round. Stand still, can't you? Roared George, flying after him. And they got it off and packed it in the teapot. So later, Harry said it's so mysterious that they can't find the butter. Then George got round and he noticed that the butter is stuck on his Harris's back. And then he said, I hear it is all the time. And he said it indignantly. Indignantly means an expression with of anger or annoyance. Okay. So, and then after that, Harry said, where? Cried Harry, spinning round. And when he was spinning, George said, stand still. Stand still means do nothing and just stand. Okay. Stand still, like hold on. Don't move. Okay. Can't you? Roared George, flying after him, moving after him. And then they got the butter out of it, off of him, and packed it again in the teapot. Then Montmorency was in it all, of course. Montmorency's ambition in life is to get in the way and be sworn at. So Montmorency is author's dog's name, and here author is telling that Montmorency was all in it, of course, in the whole chaos of this packing. And Montmorency's only ambition in life is to get in the way and be sworn at, or being sworn at means scolded by. Okay, so he just always get in the way, all the chaos, and would make things even more excited, you might say, and cause more trouble, and then be scolded at. Now, if he can squirm in anywhere where he particularly is not wanted, and be a perfect nuisance, and make people mad, and have things thrown at his head, then he feels his day has not been wasted. So here the author is saying that if his dog Montmorency can swarm in anywhere, like swarm means wriggle, and twist his body anywhere where his particular is not wanted, and be a perfect nuisance. Perfect nuisance means uh, causing inconvenience. Sorry, inconvenience. Okay, and make people mad, and things have thrown at his head. Then, at the end, his dog Montmorency feels that his day has not been wasted. Now it's successful. Now, to get somebody to stumble over him and curse him steadily for an hour is his highest aim and object. And when he has succeeded in accomplishing this, his conceit becomes quite unbreakable. So again, the author is telling the things about his dog that unless if someone stumble over him, curse him steadily even for at least for an hour, then it is his highest aim. His dog's Montmorency's highest aim and object, and when he succeeds in it, accomplishing all these things, then his conceit means pride in himself becomes quite unbearable. Okay, now. He came and sat down on things just when they were wanted to be packed, and he labored under the fixed belief that whenever Harris or George reached out their hand for anything, it was his cold damp nose that they wanted. So Montmorency just sat on all those things when they were wanted to be packed, and then he labored and did all the things under the fixed belief that whenever Harris or George reached out for anything, reached out their hand, their hand could touch was his cold nose, cold and damp nose. Okay, now he put his leg into the jam and he worried the teaspoons, and he pretended that the lemons were rats and got into the hamper and killed three of them before Harris could land him with the frying pan. So, what happened was then Montmorency put his leg in the jam, and then uh, so what happened was that Montmorency put his leg into the jam, and then what he pretended that the lemons were. So what happened that Montmorency put his leg into the jam, and then he worried. Worried means disturbed. Okay, and then he disturbed the teaspoons, and then after that he pretended that the lemons were the rats. Okay, so pretended means that to believe something is true when it is not. Okay, so he pretended that the lemons were rats and then got into the hamper, the basket, and killed the three of them. Okay, he was just doing all the pretentious behavior. So he was just doing all the act. Kind of, he was just creating a chaos by, disturbing all those things that they have packed into the basket, just for the act of killing the three lemon that are rats, according to Montmorency. Okay, and before Harris could land him with the frying pan. Okay, so Montmorency pretended that the lemons were rats, and then he got into the hamper and then killed three of them before Harris could land him with the frying pan. Now, Harris said, I encouraged him. I didn't encourage him. Harris said, I encouraged him. I didn't encourage him. A dog like that doesn't want any encouragement. It's the natural original sin that is born in him that makes him do things like that. Okay, so Harry said that I encouraged him, and then I didn't encourage him. So the author is saying that a dog like that doesn't want any encouragement. It's his natural behavior. He's born like that, and he do things like that. The packing was done at 12:50, and Harris sat on the big hamper and said he hoped nothing would be found broken. George said that if anything was broken, it was broken, which reflection seemed to comfort him. Okay, so Um, Imagine a heavy person sits on a box which is filled with delicate things. So, what would you expect? That the things will be broken or not? It will be broken, right? So, can you see the irony? The packing was done at 12:50, finally, and Harris sat on the big hamper and said he hoped nothing would be found broken. George said that anything was broken, it was broken, which reflection seemed to comfort him. So, so Harris, being Harris, sat on the hamper which was filled with the delicate thing, and obviously, if a heavy person would, sit on a box full of delicate things, then definitely things will get broken, right? But Harris is Harris, and then George said to Harris just to comfort him that if anything was broken, then it was broken. So the kind of like it's not a big deal, like just chill, kind of in that way, okay. And this thing comforted him kind of. He also said he was ready for bed. We were all ready for bed. So here George said that he was ready for bed, and then author said that we were all ready for bed, right? Then at that night that Harris has to sleep with the author. So then they went upstairs and then tossed for beds, and Harris had to sleep with the author. Now he said, "Do you prefer the inside or the outside jail?" J means the author's name, Jerome. Okay. I said, "I generally prefer to sleep inside a bed." Hadith said it was odd. Okay. So author said that he preferred to sleep inside the bed. Okay. Then George said, "What time shall I wake you fellows?" What time should they wake up? Okay. To leave. Then Harris said, "7." Author said, "No, 6. Because I wanted to write some letters." Harris and I had a bit of a row over it. Row means argument over it, but at last split the difference and said 6:30. Split the difference means like Harris, as author said 6 and Harris said 7, so they split the difference. So they were like, okay, if not 6, not 7, let it be 6:30. That that is meant by splitting the difference. So after that, wake us at 6:30, George said. They said to George, wake us up at. George made no answer, and we found, on going over, that he had been asleep for some time. So we placed the bath where he could tumble into on getting out in the morning and went to bed ourselves. So here the author is saying that when George didn't answer to them, they found out that George has been asleep for some time now. So what they did, they placed a bath, you know, bath means a tub or anything full of water next to George where he could fall into on getting out in the morning, and went to bed, and then they went to bed themselves. Okay, this shows that how naughty all these three friends were. Now our chapter has come to an end. So let's look for the key terms. Number one, uncanny. Uncanny means strange or weird. Tried myself on and am proud of. Now, fell into. Fell into means being accepted. Haunts. Haunts mean to repeatedly give trouble. Potter about. Do some unimportant things. Every mortal thing. Every ordinary thing. Trod on. Stepped on. Hampers. Large baskets for carrying food. Just like this. These are the hampers. And rummaged. Rummaged means searched in a hurried or careless way. Conceit means his pride in himself. Be sworn at, get scolded, worried, disturbed. So, here comes our first question. How many characters are there in the narrative? Name them. Don't forget the dog. Okay, so these are the questions that you guys have to do. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Why did the narrator, Jerome, volunteer to do the packing? You guys know it, right? Number three. How did George and Harris react to this? Did Jerome like the reaction? Hmm? What was Jerome's real intention when he offered to pack? And what did Harris say after the bag was shut and strapped? Why do you think he waited till then to ask? Okay. What horrible idea occurred to Jerome a little later? And where did Jerome finally find the toothbrush? Why did Jerome have to reopen the pack bag? And what did George and Harris offer to pack and why? What does Jerome say as Montmorency's ambition in life? What do you think of Montmorency and why? So, I hope that you all will answer all these questions very easily after reading the chapter and understanding it through this video. So, do practice it, okay? Now, let's just have a quick revision of it. So, let's start. So, this humorous story shows us how the most mundane tasks can be challenging when not planned properly. Right? We understood it quite easily now, right? The narrator and his friends are going on a boat journey and need to pack for it. The narrator volunteers, hoping to boss his friends around. Okay. Despite his skills at packing, he finds it to be harder than it seemed. A series of hilarious events follow as the bag is packed and unpacked a number of times. George and Harris take over, but things become more and more chaotic. Their dog Montmorency adds to the confusion. Finally, the packing is done, although in a haphazard and chaotic manner, but the friends decide to accept it for what it is. So, with this, our chapter has come to an end. I hope you all liked it. So, as I said earlier as well, that this chapter is one of my favorites. So, I love this chapter and I hope you do as well. So, guys, keep studying, keep learning. So, let's meet in the next video. Till then, bye.